We are truly blessed to have absolutely cracking swimming conditions most of the time. But what happens when the conditions aren't so great? When the weather changes or the exit conditions are worse than the conditions at the start? When someone gets panicked or gets injured? These were the questions that motivated us to do some ocean swimming survival training.
Hi, I am Kim. I wanted to consolidate the self-taught knowledge that I have accumulated over the years, as well as learn some new tricks and tips on how to be even better. The good thing about it is with swimming, it's never something to do on your own. If you are a swimmer, you'll find yourself in a group. And if you can do some kind of skills training with your actual swim group, it's a fabulous exercise because together as a group you can all be aligned on the kinds of ways of approaching a situation, as well as learn together how to handle varied conditions.
We did do basic CPR training, which I didn't record, so please look at this beautiful stock footage instead. CPR is one of those things that I, thankfully, don't practice very often, so it's always good to get a refresher and practice on a dummy. My key takeaway was that for ocean swimming, the breathing bit of the CPR procedure is disproportionately important. The biggest threat is drowning, not cardiac arrest, probably. Keeping someone's head above water, checking their breathing, and administering well-timed rescue breaths are arguably more important than chest compressions. With this in mind, we also practiced getting someone onto their back on the swim buoy in the ocean so that we could give them mouth to mouth if we couldn't get them back out and to safety in a reasonable amount of time. Once you have done the rescue breaths in the water and you have to bring your buddy out of the water, you do what is known as a one-man drag, because you are one person and you're executing a drag. Key tips here are to make sure you're still supporting your buddy's neck and keeping his airways open. And you can do the little hop to get the dead weight. Sorry, bad choice of words. Onto your hip to get your whole body behind the drag. This is really not as easy as Chris makes it look. I'm hoping that the adrenaline will give me the extra power in an emergency situation, but at least we practiced. Next is the drainage drill, also known as the recovery position. Make sure to lay the person parallel to the ocean because there's generally a slope on the beach. Roll them onto their side. And the gist here is that gravity will help their natural instinct to cough and throw up, and that this position is a safe one to do so in. Learning how to read water conditions is really dependent on your local conditions, but we did discuss general stuff like making sure you know where any reefs or rocks are and making a note of which local beaches have easy conditions to come to shore in. The general rule of thumb is that if it is a good beach for surfing, it probably won't be a swimmer's first choice. We also discussed spotting riptides by looking at where the water is still or choppy or just generally different from the surrounding water. I am still really bad at reading conditions, but I think even just the impetus to start looking will speed up my learning. Once you've identified the conditions, you need to know how to use them. In general, riptides are an easy way to get behind the break. Since we as swimmers want to get behind the break, identifying a rip and then starting your swim in the rip is a good tip. On our practical day, we wanted to avoid getting behind the break because the conditions were a bit gnarly. You can see how strongly the rip is being moved from right to left. As we were playing around in the water, we were steadily being moved to the left by the rip. If left unchecked, we would have been swept out beyond the break. Fighting against this riptide was practically impossible. You'd swim and swim and swim and basically be standing still. But it's interesting how often that was still my first instinct. Instead, we embraced the general rule for rips, which you know, but is actually hard to put into practice when you're in the rip, and that is to move parallel to the rip. Using the waves, we went into shore, which was the direction parallel to the rip, thus escaping its pull. Then you just had an easy walk on the beach to the right, which puts you far enough to the right that you can hop in and play some more.
We did a practical day in the ocean, picking what we wanted to be challenging conditions that we probably wouldn't have gone into on our own. And with the support of Stephen and Chris as our lifeguards, we were able to take chances that we might not have otherwise done, because we got to let go of that and be the children for the day and muck about and learn new things, learn how to handle bigger surf, rips, and the enjoyment factor of that, of just feeling like you're in a safe pair of hands and you could just play.
In this workshop, we learned a lot, and we learned about things that are actually a bit scary or depressing. But it was also very fun. As humans, we learn by playing. Having this joyful, safe, and no-pressure space to try things out helped us to experiment with theories, learn new things, and gain confidence.